Today is the 20th of January 2014 in Dhaka, India. And on these days, Mondays, the 2 days we meet, we now do the NOI as is followed by the study guide from the Bhakti Shastri book in conjunction with our general overview of the Bhagavatam, which is one canto per month. Mostly our Bhagavatam this month, in that we're having to combine more in-depth work with this Bhakti Shastri study guide. We'll be reading most of the time, because in general we'll do a quick overview of the structure and the topics, but I think getting into the reading from the text is most beneficial, and it's a bit of a break after we go into the more detailed study. So the first step in our NOI again is to do a quick overview, breakdown. Always start with a revision of the structure, because contextual reference always helps, and we need to keep refreshing. Refreshing means I bring it back to the top of my consciousness. It's there, but we forget. So we have to bring the topic back up. Our reference for our organization is the Bhakti Shastri Study Guide. We have about three references in this book to the NOI. We have the themes mentioned, we have the structure identified. On page 67 we have the themes. On page 91 we have, 92 we have the question. And as far as the breakdown, that is on page 63 and 64. So there are three references in the study guide. It's always good to know what's available to us. It's helpful. What are the people who are experts in study and analysis, the scholars, what have they defined to be what we need to know? On pages 63 and 64, we have our overview breakdown. On page 67, we have our themes. And on page 91, we have 92, we have our homework questions. Okay? Just so that you know, you have three references in here that are helpful. Part of study means I organize my materials and I know what help I have. You know, what do I have to help with, so I'm not spending needless time for something that's already been defined. I can take advantage of that. Okay? So if we kindly turn to page 63, and we'll quickly revise this. Just take a moment on our slates. We have learned from our own interactive experience how to analyze and reformat. Reformat means I take information and I present it in a different arrangement. It can be, it's called a graphics organizer. I can do it as a table, I can do it as a map, I can do it as a pie, I can do it as a graph. There are many ways to take information and reformat, and that is one of the 5 thinking skills that we teach often to children. So reformatting is a skill. So here we have text. And because text is often something we have had seen so much, we become a little bit overwhelmed by it, right? And so the tendency would be, well, we may not take the time to read it, and if we do, we don't have the time to analyze it. So reformatting helps us overcome that challenge. Okay. So the first thing we do is we see Nectar of Instruction overview, and the divisions are already stated at the top. 3 divisions, right? So on our charts, we will put a circle, and we will reformat as we do with the circular map gradient process. Because visual is very easy, especially the map. It's all in one place, it's radiant, and it's a contrast. Contrast helps. This is lines and more lines and lines. So something else will help us. The contrast helps. If something black is a background, you can see the red more easily. Right? Okay, so the section, this represents NOI, and according to the editors or the scholars here, they show us three parts, three divisions. So we can remind ourselves when we're about to read a book, you know, what am I faced with? This is the analytical stage. It's necessary. Even Krishna consciousness philosophy must include yoga and sankhya. Those two things. You have to have sankhya. You have to have the analysis of what you're dealing with. Otherwise, emotions will be sentimental. Your understanding will be superficial or sentimental. So here's our reformatting of this. Okay, three parts. NOI in the middle, and around it we have three parts. And the first one we see when we use codes, V as V. Vaidhi, sadhana, bhakti. So we put codes. Vaidhi, sadhana, bhakti. Vaidhi, sadhana, bhakti is one of the three divisions. And then we look at the next one, and we'll see Raganuga. Right, Raganuga, sadhana, bhakti. I think in this breakdown they leave out the word bhakti, but obviously bhakti is part of bhakti is the point. These are bhakti shastris, bhakti. Shastris that focus on bhakti. There are shastris that focus on karma, kanda, but that's not our interest. Okay, so Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, Raganuga sadhana bhakti, and the final one, we have a combination of bhav and prema. Bhav bhakti and prema bhakti. So we have BB and PB. These are extremely exalted states. It's very high. Beginning, understood to usually begin at, well, from a you can aspire up to a sakti. You can endeavor up to a sakti. But bhav and prem can descend only. They can only descend by Krishna's mercy. So when you hear the story of the two fingers too short, that represents this progression from Shraddha to Prem. Your first finger endeavor can take you to a sakti, but the last two stages, which are the goal, can only be achieved by Krishna's grace. So you have to have endeavor plus mercy. Okay, everybody understand that? So at every stage, Krishna's mercy is required, but at those stages, exclusively. You can't do much to demand. Okay, so can you kindly turn to your neighbor now and show them again the structure of the nectar of the structure. The general, most general structure. So you two pair off, and you two perhaps, or you got some people there too. All right. Now, the important principle in revision is that revision strengthens. You can see each time we do this, we have to bring it up to the surface of our collection, but then each time we do it, it doesn't have to take so long, and you know it comes more quickly. It rises to the top more quickly to the point where it's just spontaneous. You're going to be like that little 5-year-old. Alright, everyone now knows the general structure well enough to explain it to someone else. Remember, two things are important here. The final stage of learning and teaching on my part is that the student can explain it to someone else. And the importance of that for mission of Lord Chaitanya is that it is a preaching mission. So preaching is the essence, and preaching is the life, and on top of that, it is the stage at which learning is solidified. Very important. You have to be able to turn around and explain it to someone. Okay? So now you know that. Now we will identify the selection of the area. Right? So here, I will erase this one, and we'll just put the numerical breakdowns. Our first one was the preface, plus 1 to 7, right? Preface plus 1 to 7 constitutes the first division of this book. The second is just one sloka, number 8. Sloka number 8. Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti is defined in sloka 8. And the last one, Bhav and Prem, those are 9 through 11. 9 through 11. 9, 10, and 11. Define and describe Bhav and Prema Bhakti. So now we know quantity and location. We see the predominance in Vaidhi Sadhana because remember, nectar of instruction, as explained in the preface, constitutes the first instructions for the neophyte devotees. So obviously, much of what we need to hear is here. We get a very small reference to Raganuga. Raganuga is not a cheat. Spontaneous also means when you see your swarup. Many people think, well, I just like to do it. That's not enough. Oh, I like to go to Mongol Arctic. I like to sit in cold water. In the cold. No. It's when you see your swarup. So that's not cheap. And Bhav and Prema Bhakti. Okay. Because you will get glimpses of Raganuga and the Salki. Glimpses. You get what they call spurtis. Occasional glimpse. It doesn't last long. And you shouldn't talk about it. If you talk about it, it's taken away. Because the last, Krishna pulls it away. That's why you have to be careful of these offers of Siddha Pranali, because people talking like that. It's not so good. Okay? 1 through 7, 8, 9 through 11. Okay, so turn and tell your neighbor really quickly. All right? You want to lock all this in place?
What means preface? Preface is before text. Preface is
Why you do this prefaces from one preface and one Raganuga 8 and Bhava and Prema 9 to 11.
Dedication of how many verses? 1 to 7, preface, yes. 8, second, like these are
Okay? Everybody understand that? All right. Now, let's take advantage again of summary. Summaries are another one of the 5 mental actions in critical thinking. Remember we talked about reformatting. That's one of the 5. Another one is the ability to summarize, and we've been trying that ourselves in some of our other activities, in which we take points and we pack them nicely as into a clever bag for hiking. In many pockets, right? We pack it into one sentence. We compress it, everything's there, but in a summary form. That's another thinking skill. It takes intelligence to do this. So these summaries are quite helpful, but before we go into the summaries, we have to first get to the key word that's the text, the title, because we don't want to go ahead of ourselves. So the preface, here I would say in the preface, if we were to look quickly, well, there's a title there. So they have your goal and means. You have the goal and the means. The preface will tell us what's our goal and how do I get it. Right? Well, the goal would be prayojana and avideya is the process. Text 1, there's controlling the 6 urges. So we chose the word controlling. Controlling. And by the way, numbers help us too, because text 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all the number 6. 6 urges, 6 obstacles, 6 aids, things that help you, 6 exchanges. So you have 6, 6, 6, 6, and then in the next one you have 3. How to relate to devotees. And that's 3 levels of adhikar. Okay? And then in text 6, how do we identify and deal with a pure devotee? That's the topmost platform. Very important to know how to recognize and know how proper association. And text 7 deals with the chanting of the holy name, the proper chanting of the holy name. Okay, so again, you have the goal and the means in the preface. Again, this is a skill.
Yeah.
It's a summary. A summary takes thinking. How do I take something and say it all in very compact form? Then we have 6, 6, 6, 6. Your first 6 is obstacles. I'm sorry, controlling. Controlling. Your next 6 obstacles. And the next one you have aids, things that are beneficial. And then you have exchanges. Right? How do we show the sentiments? Right? How do we demonstrate loving relationship? Then you have 3, again, 3 levels of adhikar or eligibility, not only for entering, but for what shall I say, for discrimination. Levels of eligibility. Someone may come in on a very high level, entering from previous lifetimes. Some may be coming in on a much lower level. And then also the ability to define and discriminate, because part of being a devotee that's initiated, he has to discriminate so he deals properly with all the levels. That's part of etiquette. Okay? Then the topmost devotee, Uttama Adhikari, pure devotee. How should he be seen and how should he be dealt with? Text 7 will tell us about the proper ways to perform the chanting of the holy name.
Yeah.
Okay? So we've got those main points there, right? And then we have here the next one. This one is spontaneous devotional service. It's a spontaneous service in practice. Now the last section is not too difficult actually, even though Bob and Ray were high, because it is a hierarchy, or it is a level. Your first 1-9 would be the hierarchy of places. From the material world all the way up to the topmost position of the spiritual world. And text 10, again, hierarchy of personalities, because you will see there's a correspondence. Those who reside in the material plane on the lower platforms, they will have a certain characteristic. And as you ascend up on places, places are designated so people of the like type can get along and progress. I think we heard that when we heard the 5th canto. It was a brilliant description of the different islands that were created by the wheels. The wheels. And each one of those, in Vedic times, those that had similarities in their advancement were placed geographically in the same place. Right? For instance, if you have a Nishada race, they're mostly the tribals. They're not going to be, of course in Kali Yuga everything's mixed up, but they're not going to be obviously someplace where people are Siddha Purushas. It's just not going to mix. You see? And they can't progress properly. The whole idea is the progression of the jiva to the point of perfection. Ultimately, every jiva has to perfect. That's the whole material world. Every jiva has to come some point. So we're all in progress. Okay. And then the final one, the topmost place, and the topmost personality. Radhakund is the topmost place because it is not different from the topmost person. And that is why it is so dear to Krishna. And we'll be hearing about the glories of Radhakund. Okay, so now everybody has a clear, again, big contextual reference to NOI. And again, and whenever we revise, we try to do it more quickly, but we also try to do it to really make it much more spontaneous. Next time when you talk about it to someone, it rises quickly. Right? You'll find it comes up very quickly. Okay? All right, now again, let us do a quick reading. We'll go around the room and we'll start with the summaries. We'll start with Datri. Can you read us quickly the summary? Just read it through. So again, now that you know, Golan means when you hear how a summary is written. Because now listen from a writer's viewpoint.
The summary of the preface.
Yeah, the summary to the preface.
Okay.
And remember, read it, use your index finger as an accelerator. But now think, yes, this is what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to summarize that. Okay, Doctor?
To reach perfection in Krishna consciousness, one must follow the instructions of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan by controlling the mind and the senses as instructed by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Upadeshamrita.
Now do you see how that packed in about 6 points? Very nicely in one sentence. All right, could you read, now Kamala, could you read the summary for the first text?
Text 1, controlling the 6 urges. This verse elaborates on the prerequisites for spiritual life described in the 3rd main point of the preface. The necessity of controlling the mind and senses. A person who has mastered these prerequisites is fit to be a guru.
Okay, so we get here again. This is a very important text. How to control the mind and senses. Radhika Priya. Now again, when you're hearing her and you're following, think, could I have written this? Could I have done this? Okay, go ahead.
Text 2, obstacles to devotional service. Text 2 describes the implications of not controlling the mind and senses by his own choice. The conditioned soul has fallen under the jurisdiction of the material energy of the Lord. Under its influence, he has to meet the demands of the body, which is produced a product of this energy. Text 2 further explains how to meet these basic demands in a way that fosters spiritual progress rather than material entanglement.
Okay, so we get the positive, right? We find out what is the problem. We get the positive solution to the problem. This is very important because identifying a problem is one thing, but how to solve it is the next step, right? Very important. If you just have problems, then what do I do? Okay, so that helps us. Okay. Text 3. Could you please read the summary?
Text 3, principles that aid devotional service. 6 principles are given that help us progress on the path of pure devotional service. But before discussing them, Srila Rupa Goswami explains exactly what pure devotional service is.
Right, that's important because if I need to progress to something, I have to know what it is. He defines it, okay, as is done in the Nectar of Devotion, and he gives us a definition of the 6 things that help us attain that. All right, text 4 summary.
Text 4, 6 loving exchanges. In previous lessons, we mentioned that one's desires and ambitions develop according to the company one needs. Sangat sanjayate kama. Therefore, we need to progress in Krishna consciousness. We have to associate with devotees. Text 4 explains that association consists of, it also begins to explain how one should associate with devotees. Further instructions on how to associate with different types of devotees are found in text 5 and 6.
Okay, so here again, loving exchanges has to be with awareness, the backdrop of the level. Okay, and how to associate with the devotees. Very important. And text 5, Sylvie?
Association according to levels of advancements. In order to properly apply the 6 loving exchanges described in the previous verse, one must select proper persons whom to reciprocate. What kind of Vaishnava should be selected as a friend, and how one should deal with different kinds of Vaishnavas is the subject matter of this verse. All devotees should be respected, but in order to make spiritual advancement, we must associate with serious devotees and distance ourselves from casual association.
Right. Okay, so it's very important. Association, like a crystal. A crystal picks up the color, right, what is near. So just being in the company of someone. And the proof of that is from the Bhagavatam, a moment's association with your devotee, one lava. A lava is 1/11 of a second.
An 11th of a second.
1/11 of a second.
It's called a lava?
It's called a lava. We can write that down. In the 3rd canto, the chapter in Kapila's instructions to his mother, and it's entitled The Time Factor from the Adam up to the day of Brahma, or the life of Vishnu. So one of the smallest units here is called a lava, and it is 1/11 of a second. That shows you the power of associating with the devotee. And you can see so many people who just saw Srila Prabhupada, pictures of him even, how their lives became transformed. And association is not restricted to even just physical proximity or presence. We're associating right now with Rupa Goswami. If you read the literatures by these pure devotees, you're in their association. If you follow what they say, you're serving their lotus feet. You're serving their lotus feet. It doesn't mean that you have to, be there physically and wash their laundry or something like that. Just by following their instruction, you're serving the lotus feet.
What means 11?
11, it's called a lava. Oops. Lava. Just L-A-V-A.
Lava.
Lava. It is a unit of time. You should find this very interesting. It's in the 3rd canto. Calculation of time from the atom.
Which is interesting because you know what lava is. It comes from the earth. It comes from the center of the earth.
Yeah.
It's when a volcano erupts.
Right,
So that's
right.
interesting. So that's
This is a technical term for a unit of time. So that's all it takes to be in the presence of devotee who wants life to change. See the power of pure devotional service and the pure devotee. Okay, everybody?
There is a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita also that includes love, sadhu sang, love mata sadhu sang.
Sadhu sangha is it's considered to be really important. The first step. In fact, more important than chanting is association. Because in association you can chant. Without association you'd have to be very advanced to do it. Very advanced. Okay. So where were we now? In our summaries? 6? You finished it? Okay, 6.
Associating with the pure devotee. Text 6 discusses how we should associate with devotees, especially with spiritual master, who is tremendously transcendentally situated.
Right. This is very important. The spiritual master needs to be transcendently situated in the parampara. Okay? Text 7. Are you able to see it okay, Dina?
Yes. Text 7. Chanting the holy name. In order to come to the platform of Uttama Bhakti, we must first cleanse the consciousness of the materialistic contamination that covers the mirror of the heart. By carefully chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day, we gradually become cured from the jaundice of ignorance and revive knowledge of our blissful, conscious, constitutional position as Krishna's servant.
Right, and the Maha Mantra is the mantra for reviving what is already present in the Jiva. The Jiva has pure love of God, right? And the pure state he chants constantly. So the degree to which one is chanting naturally, spontaneously, it means the coverings have been removed. Natri, can you somehow see us with the summary for Raganugas on
Spontaneous devotional service and practice. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami gives the essence of all advice: to fix one's mind on Krishna without deviation by constantly hearing and chanting about him and remembering his pastimes.
So this is the constant stage, right? Constant stage, constantly hearing, chanting, remembering. Hearing begins with hearing, and hearing leads to chanting, discussing as we're doing now. And then remembrance is possible when you have content. You have to remember something, there has to be something there. Okay, Mataji, text 9, someone?
The hierarchy of the material and spiritual worlds. Text 9 describes the hierarchy of the different regions of the Lord's creation, with Radhakund as the topmost place.
Okay, and read Priya?
Text 10, the hierarchy of different types of human beings. Text 10 describes the hierarchy of the different types of human beings within the creation and Radhakund in the creation. And Radhakund is the place of residence for the topmost human beings.
So topmost human beings. Now this Radhakund is not just the external one. When we talk about Radhakund, they mean the internal Radhakund. That must be understood. We don't see, I mean, maybe some people here do, but when you go to Radhakund, if you read the descriptions of the internal Radhakund, it's quite a different thing. It's quite a different thing. Okay, and next?
Text 11, the glories of Radhakund. Text 11 perfectly illustrates the point that the cultivation of spiritual life is a gradual process. In the same way as one is meant to read the first 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam before approaching the 10th canto, one must assimilate the first 10 verses of Nectar of Instruction before approaching Radhakund. If one fails to do so, one is sure to misunderstand the instructions given hearing and ruin one's spiritual life.
It's a pretty heavy statement. So you see the progression of controlling the 6 senses, the 6 urges. That's the first stage. And you see what happens if one does not do that. He doesn't progress gradually. And if he misunderstands, he can ruin his spiritual life permanently. Very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. Okay, so now you see the importance of this book. These are the instructions for all of those who are aspiring as members of the Krishna Consciousness Society to become perfected devotees, beginning with the first instruction, with the goal of the final one. And all of these are in progressive stages as the Bhagavatam, as they were saying, from Canto 1 to Canto 10, progressive. And it's interesting too how we do our Bhagavatam in a very progressive way. Because if you proceed without sufficient knowledge, you can misunderstand and not know, unknowingly make mistakes that could be permanent damage to your spiritual life. Okay, so everybody pretty clear now as we go through our Bhagavatam. All right, now the next thing we need to pull out would be our charts. Because, let's go over again really quickly on the page that shows the themes. You want to revise that? I'm also not sure there. 67. There are 7 themes. You'll see on this page 2 small boxes, 1 large box. These are the small books in the Rocky's house here. So we had a mnemonic. Masters always give instructions so disciples benefit. Right? Masters always give instructions so disciples benefit. So the first theme is mind and sense control. We can do the signals for that. Mind, sense control. And the next one would be attitude. Attitude, right. You want to have a very positive attitude. And also service attitude. 3. Guru, disciple. Guru and disciple, very important theme. You'll see this coming up throughout the book. 4. ISKCON's purpose, right? ISKCON's purpose. This would be ISKCON's purpose. And basically, the purpose is to provide for humanity at large to hear about Krishna. These centers are open so the general humanity at large can come and hear about Krishna. And also to provide devotees the association by which they can have sadhu sangha. Because without sadhu sangha in this age, not so easy. I mean, Dhruva could go to the forest and sit for 6 months, but I don't think we could attain perfection that quickly in the forest by ourselves. Sadhu sangha, you see, is our next one, right? Right, sadhu sangha, we talked about that. Sadhu sangha, devotee friends. And the next one would be disciples, right? Those who have to listen, follow. Disciple. Disciple must accept the order if he wishes to progress. He cannot make up his own concoction. And the last one, bhakti. Okay?
What did you do for devotees?
We can go like this.
Oh yeah, that's what
Devotees. So, mind and sense control. Okay? And our next one will be attitude. Positive service attitude. Guru and disciple. ISKCON's purpose, bring people together to hear about Krishna. And then the next one would be association, sadhu sangha. Very important. Advancement. Devotees. And of course, bhakti. Loving devotional service. Active cultivation is not a passive thing. Okay, quickly tell your neighbor the 7 themes now. It's really important. If you really have these on the tip of your tongue, you're thinking about them.
mind and senses. Control. Oh, control. Yeah. Attitude.
Mind and sense control. Attitude. Guru,
Can you translate?
Behavior.
Mind and senses. Control attitude.
I think it's interesting to know some additional features under devotees and bhakti. Devotees, you'll read about the types, indicative behavior, and qualification. And for bhakti, the stages and desires. Now, has so far what we've done helped you bring to the surface what we've gone over before? I know even as I go through this time, I figure I see more, I understand more, it comes up more quickly. Automaticity with repetition, It just rises very quickly to your recollection state. Okay? Now, the questions on page 92. NOI questions. So now you know what's available to you in your book. By the way, the themes are also, there's one more thing available to you. There are tables. Themes, for instance, there are themes in Ishopanishad and themes in NOI, Gita themes. These are themes in Nectar of Devotion, themes in Ishopanishad, and the themes in the NOI. 2 pages on the major themes in Nectar of Instruction.
What page is it?
Right, and this is on pages
73.
73. 73 and 72. 72 and 73. And you'll see, if you were to write a paper, an essay, and you would want to write it on mind and sense control, you would see that, oh, I can find information in the preface, I can find information in chapter 1, and I can find information in chapter 2. This is called reformatting as a table. This is a table. Those of you who know computer, you'll have Excel programs which show charts done in a table form. So remember, we showed you how to reformat with a mind map. This is a table reformatting. I take information, but now I can see it. I can access it quickly. If I want to write about attitude, look at how many places I can find that. Preface, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Everywhere.
6, 7, 8. Only place 9 and it shows up at 10. That's a big topic. Because, what did it say in the preface? One's advancement in spiritual science is dependent on one's attitude. Then if I want to find out about ISKCON's purpose, I will find it in 2, and 3, and 4, and 6, and 7, and 8. If I want to find out how the guru and the disciple should relate, preface 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. You see, your last 3 are more like this. If I want to find out about Sadhu Sangha, I will find that in 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. If I want to know how to understand levels of devotees, types, behavior, eligibility, I will find that in the preface, in the 1. Yes, so many places. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and also 10. Because that's the hierarchy. And bhakti. How are we going to find out about bhakti in this book? Well, we're going to hear about it in the preface. We're going to hear about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Because these are the bhakti shastris. Rupa Goswami and the Goswamis were ordered, according to the song by Srinivasacharya, to research all of the literatures and extract the essence for us on how to proceed in bhakti. Just as the sages of, that were listening to Parikshit, one of their questions was, please tell us what is the essence of all the literatures. Right? What is the essence? That's what everybody really wants to know. Who has time to study the Vedas? No. And most of them deal with Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda, with demigods. So the Veda, we need to get it boiled down. And Lord Chaitanya has come to give this. He has come to give this, as we read in the preface. The science of devotional service. He's blessed us with that. Most fallen age, the highest thing is given. It's ironic, really. The highest given to the least qualified. Okay, so you understand now you have 4 references in your book, right? You have the overview breakdown, you have the themes, you have the themes table where I can find these topics, and you have study questions. You see how valuable this book is? Right, every student should learn, every teacher should know. Those who are certainly, should I say, trained in professional skills, the first thing they take out is the teacher's guide. But the student who's wise will take it out also. Because this is his guide. Why differentiate? You're both. That's our premise here. You're both students and teachers. You're both. And a handy way to teach is the good way to study.
Question.
Question.
Because of the copy, it's hard to see. For 4, under ISKCON's purpose, to facilitate loving exchanges, and what's the next one? Teaches love of God?
Yeah, teaches love of
Okay.
God.
Okay.
Right.
Teachers love us.
What is?
And even the devotees, what is the second
What is when
what? 6 folds to avoid
enforces?
Ishavasya.
Yes. She's telling me.
Which one is that for devotees? Was which one?
Devotees, second one.
What is?
Atmas, 6 folds to avoid Ishavasya.
What is the work?
You're looking at it.
No,
Teaching.
teaching.
Teaches love of God.
Nectar of instructions.
The
third one.
Number 2, I have attains false to avoid.
Ishavasya.
On the
To counteract
Yeah, letters.
Okay, so now do you find these charts helpful?
the first word is
Very helpful because, again, the first word.
6 loving exchanges.
ISKCON purpose.
Yes.
Facilitate.
The first word.
The first word is ISKCON's purpose, okay? ISKCON's purpose, the first box is chapter 2.
Chapter 4.
Oh, 4.
ISKCON purpose.
Right, to facilitate 6 loving exchanges teaches love of God.
To facilitate.
And sometimes these photocopies, the machines don't pick up all the
Right.
text. Is that clear?
Loving
Any more questions on those?
It's teaching.
Teaches.
Actually, before you study, the secret is study the study guide. It's, like das anu das, because you see, they've done so much of the thinking for you. And by example, it teaches you how to proceed when you have to think. It's the model. It's a model for thinking. If you read a summary sentence done by an expert, you see the model for, well, how will I write a summary sentence when I'm asked to do that on a test or on a larger piece, essay. So these are models for our thinking. That's how we learn, by modeling.
And what about ISKCON purpose, third one?
ISKCON's purpose, third one down, allows hearing from pure devotees and engagements in devotional service. So I think today was a discovery for all of you on the value of a study guide. I'm often amazed when devotees will be taking Bhakti Shastri and there was never a reference to the study guide. And I thought, well, how did you go about it?
I did that without it.
How did you go about it? It would be like, trying to find your way in Delhi without a map and without a driver.
Yeah.
Usually I go with the driver who knows his way around, but sometimes you'll get a rickshaw guy and he knows you don't know your way around and he'll drive all around and you'll run up a huge bill. And at the end you have to pay it.
And it was right around the corner.
And it was right around the corner. So you should know as much as your guide, or you have a guide you have faith in. That's why you have to have advanced pure devotee for a guide, who has none of the defects, cheating propensity. Because if you pick somebody else as a guide, who's just a rickshaw driver, and he knows you don't know your way around, you come from America and you've got your wallet showing and He's going to drive you all over Delhi, and as you said, the place is right around the corner, and then you'll have like a 500 rupee bill, and you may not even, he does always say, I don't know where it is. They've done that too, they can do that too. And they'll be stopping and asking along the way. Then you know you're really being taken for a ride. They say literally taken for a ride. Okay, everybody know how to use the study guide now? You happy now?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good. And we also have 3 verses to learn. And that will be listed also in these books, but we also have the chart. Let's now go to our charts. We have our little green charts here. Shanti has done reformatting, right? Again, you see people who are experts in teaching. They reformat. They know how to do it. She has presented these as mind maps. Not technically so much, but in a way again, where she has taken information and extracted it and presented it in a mind-easy way. So let's quickly go to our first section. We have 3 parts. We have the walkthrough map number 1, and then we have the sloka, and then we have Nectar instruction question bank. Now that's coming from the VIG. Okay, and you'll see their questions are more difficult. We have 12 questions from the study guide, but the questions from the question bank, these are the ones that are more like on an exam. They'll say define the 6 urges and explain how they manifest. Okay. So these are questions we also want to put in our little notebooks, because if you can answer these, you have a much greater understanding of NOI. The study questions are pretty easy. Who's Rupa Goswami? What are the best, the topmost literatures, right? But these questions are difficult. Explain how atonement is ultimately useless in removing simple reactions, and what analogies does Srila Rupa Goswami give in this regard. And this is where your maps help you, because her maps are deep. Okay? So, let us take a look again and get out your slates, and let's do, on the first, we're going to do the first, we'll do the preface, and text 1, and text 2 maps. Okay? Ready? You should need your slates and your maps, because just reading it will not adhere to the memory. Just reading this, it won't adhere. You have to repeat it and reformat it. Everyone who's getting a nod from our teachers over here, they know, they work with children. Anybody who works with children regularly, I used to do that, and I know it's hard work. They don't remember, and they're not even voluntarily sitting there. You people have volunteered to come, so you have an expressed desire to learn. So you're not misbehaving, you're not punching Radhika Priya, you're not taking her bead bag, you know. You're not creating a disruption, because you voluntarily have come out of an expressed desire, sincere as well. But when you're faced with a group of children who, by requirement, are there, and you are online for making sure they learn, and if you have any professional ethics, it's a big job. You can tell them, it's tough. It's tough. 30 children, and many of them don't want to be there. Wow. I can tell you, it's hard work. All right. So we're going to take a look now. Upadesh and read to text 1. And before we start, we're going to look at the map, and we're going to look at the big headings. Right? That's the first step. Size. Our biggest heading says what? Real atonement. And now think about it. Do I know what atonement is, and do I want to know what real atonement is? So just don't say it. Just say, what is atonement? And what is real? It's like you get this juice from the market. It's real juice. Real. That's real. Some in the West, they say, oh, get real. And then our next topic is heavy text. What does that say? Standard process. So what's the important word? Two words are important. Process and standard. It means I didn't invent it. I didn't make it up. It's not whimsical. So now, ask yourself, what are the two things that are on this page that are the biggest type? What's your first one? Real atonement and standard process. Now, do you see how you study? Because if you just read it and then you put it aside, I bet you can't do it. I'll bet. I don't want to wager. That's against the rules. But I mean, we're not allowed to gamble. But real atonement, and then you have to say, what is atonement? And it has to be real. That means it works. And then, is there a process? And then it says, yes, there's a standard process. That means it's accepted as working. It's authoritative and it works. Then I see two lines, because real atonement comes down, and it comes down, yes, there's a standard process, and then there's a branch. Then I see two headings, not as heavy. On the left, I see regulative principles of mystic yoga. Oh, that's a standard process. Right? Yeah, that's not the yoga. Mystic yoga. It's a process. On the right, I see another one. What does that say? Regulative principles of Krishna consciousness as recommended by Srila Goswami. Now this is important because you've got four things here. Regulative principles of what? Krishna consciousness, recommended by who? By him. Why Rupa Goswami?
They are reading his.
Because we're under his supervision. Yes, he's supervised. We're Rupa Nugas. But you all know that. I mean, we are under the supervision of Rupa Goswami. That's why we're sitting here. He's very important to us. He's given us Bhakti Shastris. Lord Chaitanya gave us the Shikshastika, 8 instructions. That's all he wrote. Rupa Goswami did all the writing, and then the other Goswamis left the tradition. But he's the principal one. All right, now, at the bottom we see some more heavy type. What do we see?
Analogies used.
Analogies. You have to know what analogy is and why it's important. Everybody know what analogy is? It's a concrete example to make a principle easy to understand. And then what's the next thing it says? Versus quote. Okay, now you got that page. Now, think about it. What's the first heading? Real atonement. Right, don't look at your paper. And then the second one? Standard process. See, you have to memorize the skeleton. All right, there were two ways. There was a branch. What was on the left? Mystic regulative principles of yoga. Right, both are regulative. Regulative principles of the mystic yoga process, which is not considered the natural one. It's difficult. But the other branch, what's that one? Regulative principles of Krishna consciousness as recommended by Srila Rupa Goswami. Now you are memorizing the skeleton of this page. Now, what two other headings are here? Analogies and versus. Okay, now, if we start filling this in, we can practically recite this page. Understand?
Yeah.
All right, now, here is a very important, we have sentences here. We have three sentences. And the last one leads into the next category. So the first thing we see is a sinful activity cannot be counteracted by a pious activity. Right? And like in the West they say, in the Christians, you can't rob Peter to pay Paul. There's a Christian, I take from one man, oh, I stole from Kamala, but I'll be nice and I'll give the money to Neela. That'll make me sing. No. Okay, so let's make a symbol for that. Let's make a symbol for that. we want to see this, we want to reformat. So I can memorize this. Because if you don't want to reformat too much, memorize too much, it gets to be too much. Okay, so we're going to say a sinful activity cannot be counteracted by a pious activity. So we're going to have sinful and pious. And we cannot counteract this one with this one, right? We're going to try, we have a sinful activity and we've done a pious activity. And X means I can't do it. I cannot counteract by doing something pious, something I did sin. This is the first reason why we have this sentence under real atonement, because atonement means I have to suffer for something bad. I have to suffer for something bad. Sinful activity cannot be counteracted by a pious activity. You've got your first sentence. Next, thus, real prayaschita. Now, prayaschita, you have to know what that means. It means atonement. So P, with pious and prayaschita, like atoning, right? Atonement. Thus, real prayaschita, atonement. Now they're giving you a definition of atonement in Sanskrit. It is prayaschita. And what is it? It's awakening our dormant Krishna consciousness. So now they're equating things. Now we're going to put equal signs. They are equating atonement with prayaschita with Krishna. Well, actually, Krishna consciousness. Let me try this so it shows up again. Atonement equals prayaschita equals Krishna consciousness, and that equals, that's real knowledge. Real knowledge. They're all equal. Real atonement means real knowledge. Real means Krishna consciousness. That's what it means. You see the equation there? Atonement is defined as prayaschita. Prayaschita means coming to real knowledge. And how do I come to real knowledge? Krishna consciousness. Everything else is really not complete, if at all.
The atonement equals prayaschita, which equals Krishna consciousness, which equals real knowledge.
This is our real process, coming to Krishna consciousness. Okay? You understand? Actually, let's make this easy. A equals P. Atonement means prayaschita, right?
Yes.
And if I really want to atone, I have to awaken my
Krishna consciousness.
Krishna consciousness. And that is equal to
Real knowledge.
Real knowledge. We made two little equations there. Can I help you? Atonement means prayaschita. And if I really want to atone, I have to come to Krishna consciousness, which means that is the process of real knowledge.
I wonder if the people who don't speak English as a first language know what atonement actually is.
Atonement means to counteract or actually nullify and eliminate, get to the root of sin. You see, only Krishna consciousness can do that.
Self-punishment.
It's a type of punishment. Self-atonement. Right. The thief is put in prison. That's called atonement. The Christian confesses. By confession, I have relieved myself of the sin. But that's not really true. That's the seventh offense to chanting the holy name. You commit a sin on the strength of chanting. If you consciously do something wrong, I met a lady once who told me that. She obviously didn't know this. She wanted me to do something that wasn't right. And I said, well, no, this is not a good idea. And then she said, well, just do your job. And when she said that, then I thought, oh, I'm really bowing out of this thing.
Oh my gosh.
They have that idea. idea that by doing the japa it makes it okay. Does it make it okay? That's the seventh offense, and you can't counteract that one. You understand the principle? So everybody understands atonement? Right? That means actually you've eliminated the reaction from the sin, but you didn't get to the root of it. Only Krishna consciousness can destroy the root of the sin, the propensity. And because you're coming to real knowledge, and you're getting purified by the proper process. Because now we're going to, what's our next heading? The standard process for real knowledge, for real atonement, for prayaschitta. Well, there's one on the left, regular principles of mystic yoga. And the one on the right is engagement in Krishna consciousness. And I was listening to Burjan, it's very important. What is the one thing that switches you from the category on the left to the category on the right? There's one thing that will switch you.
Mind and sense control?
No.
No.
What's your name, Krishna?
No.
Bonafide spiritual master.
Bonafide spiritual master. Yes. Until you come in contact with a bonafide spiritual master, you can't make the switch. Okay? So here, these other principles, austerity, celibacy, they're all important. But they will not cut the root. And we hear all these pastimes in the Bhagavatam, all these mystic yogis and these sages, they fall. Right? We're hearing about Brahmachiti and Nidra. And Sobari Muni, and all of these sages, and Vishwamitra, all of these sages on a high level of perfection, one little thing, one little sense disturbed. And they can't keep this, they can't. And they always give the example of Haridas Thakur. He was tempted by Maya Devi herself. And she bowed at his feet. Why? Because he was fixed on a higher taste, a higher level. So here, austerity, celibacy, mind and sense control, renunciation, truthfulness, cleanliness, yoga and asanas, they're helpful. But are they going to cut the root? No. The positive answer is Krishna consciousness, engagement in devotional service. This is the positive thing under the guidance of a bona fide guru. And methodical training in the association of devotees and following the regular principles. Now you really know this page. Does everybody have, you know this page now?
Yeah.
And then analogies. The thief and the police. Someone who's intelligent may hear it's bad to steal, and he won't. Someone who's less intelligent might do it once and get punished and never do it again. Someone who's a total fool will go to prison, will come out, and they'll do it again. Those are the analogies we'll see on page 2. Elephants. They take a bath, and then they come out, and they pour the dust all over their body. Okay? The next one. Christians go to confession on Saturday, is it? Sunday. They go on Sunday, and then all week they do the same thing, and they go, that's okay, because next week I'll just tell the priest, and I'm okay.
Is that atonement?
Beg your pardon?
Is that atonement?
Yes, confessing. That's their understanding, but they blamed it all on Jesus, you know, he has to take all my sins. But actually, the proper process, the spiritual master has to give the order, and the disciple has to follow the instructions. He just can't keep taking your sins. Once or twice, but Prabhupada said after 3 or 4 times, you're not going to keep giving you shelter. You have to agree to abide by the regulated principles. And regulated hygienic process. They use that analogy. That if you stay clean, your body is clean. You eat food that's prepared clean with cleanliness. You're less apt to fall sick. So cleanliness in spiritual affairs, chanting the mantra, following the regulated principles, that is the analogy for a standard spiritual hygienic process. Okay? You follow all these analogies? The thief, the elephant, the Christian, and hygiene. You know, 4 analogies. And you'll find verses quoted. And this is coming from the 6th canto, 1st chapter, the story of Ajamil. And they're asking, Parikshit's asking the same thing. Well, what's the benefit of atonement if people just go on doing the same thing? He's asking this question. It's an important question. So you pretty much know this page? Yeah. Okay. Your first topic, big heading was what?
Real
and the next heading was what? Process. And then the next heading was what? And the next heading was what? Right, regulative principles. And how do we go from left to right? Bona fide spiritual master in the association of devotees, following the standards. And what examples do we have? 4.
And now for
thief and
police, regulated party,
Okay, you got them all. Thief, elephant, Christian confessions,
and
hygienic process. And what's the question that's being asked?
Srimad Bhagavatam 6.
6 months. Yes, Rich is asking. Well, what is the good of atonement if one keeps making sin? So now, do you know how to study a page? Wow. You've got it. Wow. Yeah. Very helpful. Now, when you find yourself reading the text and answering your questions, will this be very difficult? No. Right. Let us now take a look at her next map. Because the first thing to do is how, we teach these in thinking skills, how to crack the code. How do I make it so it's actually, I have got the key. I have the learning key. We're giving you learning keys today, not just information. See how to do it. Because the person, like Srimati, in order to do this, she had to know it. But that's not enough. She knew how to present it. She knew it so well that she could present it. Now the reverse is, I think the way Srimati thought when she wrote. You understand? I think as she did. Because if you can adopt the writer's thinking, you have come a long way. Now, become thinkers. Upadeshamrita text 1, walk through map number 2. Now, quickly, in the middle, what do you see? Prabhupada. Very good. We have now gotten our pure devotee. So he's going to help us. And now this map is going counterclockwise. Usually maps should go clockwise, but this one's going counterclockwise. And we see the sloka. And at the bottom, we're just going to analyze the page now. We're not going to work at what it says. We see Prabhupada. On the left, we see three eyelashes, right?
Yeah.
On the right, how many do we see?
One.
And then on the right, we see another symbol. What do we see? Arrows. 2 arrows. You see, just analyze before you start. Don't just jump into the pool before you learn how to swim. Let the coach teach you how to swim, and then he can throw you in the deep end even, and you'll make it. But even if you go, there are people who could drown in a wading pool. They can. They can drown in a wading pool. So you don't want to do that. You have to learn how to swim first. This is how to swim through a map. 3 eyelashes on the left, 1 on the right, 2 arrows on the right. And at the bottom, we have a summary statement. Conclusion. Okay? And at the top, we're going to see Srila Prabhupada's commentary on controlling the 6 urges. Okay? Now, let us take a look. We know it's his commentary on doing what? Controlling
the senses.
The 6 urges. Again, it's a commentary on controlling what? The 6 urges. CC 6U. controlling 6 urges. That's your big heading. Okay? Now, let us go on the left. Look at the bold type. What's the first one?
Vacho
Vega. And the next one? Mano Vega and
Krodha Vega.
You have how many?
3.
Vacho,
Vacho,
Vega, Mano Vega, and Krodha Vega. On the right, we have how many headings? 3. Jiva, Vega, Udara Vega, and Pasta Vega. And they are in a line. Very important. They're in a line. These are not in the line. These are in the line. All right. Now, if you'll notice, under each heading, there is another dark, bold, degrading and elevating. Degrading and elevating. Degrading and elevating. Degrading and elevating. For Udara Vega and Upasta Vega, they just use it degrading, elevating for both. Then you see what? Analogies used? You see that? And what? Verses quoted. And your thesis statement, your summary conclusion. Now we've analyzed this page. Now you can tell if you think about it. Okay. I have 6 urges: Vacho, Vegam, Manasa, Vegam, Krodha, Vegam, right? What will degrade? And what will elevate? This is in the commentary. What will I do that will degrade me? And what can I do that will elevate me? Then I have Jiva, Vegam, meaning tongue, Udara, belly, genitals, in a line. And what will I do that will degrade me? What will I do that will elevate me? These instructions are meant for us. They're not meant for somebody else. Yeah, they're also meant for somebody else, but they're also meant for us. And I have analogies. How many? 2. How many verses quoted?
1.
All right. So now in your mind, can you close your eyes and picture this map?
Yeah.
Can you actually see it? You see Prabhupada there?
Yeah.
And you see his commentaries on controlling the what? 6 urges. Good, you can see it. And in bold type, what do you see? Close your eyes.
Mano Vega,
Okay. Vacho Vega, Manasa Vega, Krodha Vega, left.
Jiva
Okay, and you know what analogies are on this page, right? How many? 2. And how many quotes? 1. And you have under each one of the Vegas, what do you have?
Degrading.
Degrade me and elevate me. And this is important because does it apply to us?
Yes.
Yes. Is anybody exempt from this?
No.
No. You see how you crack the code? Now, if we just started talking about this, it would be interesting, but it's not there. You have locked it. Now, the urge to speak is what Vacho Vega means, underneath, and she'll tell you the reference. Mano Vega, what does that mean? To master the mind. Krodha Vega. Anger. Jiva. Demands the tongue. Udara. Belly. Upasta. Genitals. Now let's quickly look at the analogies used. Snake. And another one, Krishna and the sun. So we're going to find out how does Prabhupada use these analogies to explain these points. The snake and the toad, and Krishna and the sun. And the verses we're going to find quoted is from what book? Srimad 22. Now can you picture your page a little more now? Now the one thing that you're going to find, all of your elevating things refer to Krishna consciousness. Because that is real knowledge, that is real atonement. And that is the positive solution to material entanglement. Everyone, the answer is Krishna consciousness. And what we find, you'll find it coming through and through again. What is the degrading thing? 3 kinds of things are degrading. Impersonalists, those who are fruitive workers by regulative principles, like Shastra, the Karma Kandiyas. And the third one is the unbridled materialistic man who don't even follow Shastra. You'll find those are the 3 things in every case, whether it's speech, mind, anger, tongue, belly, genitals. You'll find those. What are those 3 things? The impersonalist, the karma, the fruitive worker, and the outright materialistic person, following no principles at all, uninhibited action. So that makes it very easy. When you're going through each of these paragraphs, you'll see Prabhupada will tell you, avoid association with the impersonalist, the karma kandiyas, and the materialistic. And the speech, what will they say? What will the impersonalist say? What will the karma kandiyas say? All of those are below Krishna consciousness. They haven't had the mercy of a pure devotee. Does that make sense how this is all going? Now the conclusion. When one is fully practiced in the methods of Krishna conscious control, he can become qualified to be a bona fide spiritual master. That is the conclusion. So you have your conclusive statement here. Okay? You see how to crack a code? You know this page now. You know this page. Right? And we're not going to do it for the next walk through math. Next time it should be this one is coming, well, real quickly we can, Bhakti Siddhanta. Because Prabhupada not only gives you his commentary, he quotes his spiritual master. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur's Anuvriti. Anu means to follow, and Vritti means instruction. And his commentary. So now we're going to hear what Bhakti Siddhanta says, because the tradition is we follow parampara. Prabhupada's respecting his guru. What does my guru say? Now he says 3 kinds of urges. And this is what's going to happen. Now every one of us here identifies to some degree with the material body or mind, right? Is that true?
Yeah.
Is there anybody here who's a Brahmabhuta? Okay. We're still Jiva Bhuta. Jiva Bhuta means the Jiva is now materially misidentified with the body and the mind. Brahmabhuta means he's on the soul platform. So listen to what, this is really important. Material identification creates what? 3 kinds of urges. The minute you identify the body, guess what happens?
3 kinds of urges.
The urge to what? Speech, demands of the mind, and demands of the body. Automatically. You're going to want to talk. Your mind wants to be controller, right? It's going to want to do this and think of that, and do this and that, and this and that. And the body, you have those 3 things in a row. Tongue, belly, and genitals. And the problem will be that you're forced, the minute you misidentify with the body, and your only solution will be what? The Krishna conscious alternative. The same thing. So now Prabhupada is referring to his Guru Maharaj in his what? Anuvriti commentary, pages 7 to 14. So you'll see Prabhupada giving you his commentary, and you'll be seeing a parallel description by his Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. The urge to speak, and what's the solution? Right.
Talk about
And unrestricted, oh yeah, two more important words here. Oh, we gotta get these words. Demands of the mind, there are two. You see those little branches under the middle one? Demands of the mind. Everybody see it?
Yes.
We have a big word here. Unrestricted attachment. And the other one is anger arising from frustration. Because when you're attached to something, and you want it and you don't get it, you become materially frustrated, anger. And the word for unrestricted attachment is aviroda priti. Priti means attachment. Aviroda priti. When I feel angry, it's called viroda yukta roda. Those are two big words here. Aviroda priti, unrestricted attachment. Anger arising from frustration, viroda, yukta, roda. Now these are very important terms. And the thing that is important in this text is, Bhaktisiddhanta said, when one is afflicted by these three urges, his life becomes inauspicious. Inauspicious. The whole world is leading inauspicious existence. The whole world. Because they're under the bodily conception, they're forced to feel these urges, and they will be leading a risky life of degradation. Very dangerous. What can help them? Krishna consciousness. Who is supposed to give it?
Guru, one of my spiritual master.
And?
Krishna.
All of us. Who's going to give it? Can they give it? Can the people under these urges give the answer?
No.
No. Who has to give it?
Devotees.
Devotees. And if you don't give it,
They don't get it.
very serious. It's not something to be relaxed about. Oh, that's their problem. You think you will get the mercy from Lord Chaitanya? Kripana means I have something, miserly, but I don't use it. A man who has money, when he keeps it in a, he's called a miser. Krishna said to Arjuna, you have strength, you can fight. If you don't fight, you're a miser. Because you have something you can give. If we all have something we can give and we don't give it, what are we?
Misers.
Misers. It's not a very nice thing, is it? Okay, so you know how to crack the code?
Yeah.
Shall we read a little bit of Bhagavatam? It's pretty heavy, but skills. How do I study? You all get the point? Big difference, isn't it?
It is.
Big difference. Otherwise, it's just more information. Okay, now we're going to rest the brain a little bit and taste the nectar of the Bhagavatam. And last time I think we were reading about the 6 questions, right? And Vyasadeva responded. And remember when we were hearing about the 6 questions, the sages had assembled and they had asked their inquiries. Well, actually, the inquiries were coming from the sages at Navasharanya. And they were asking Sutta Goswami 6 questions. And the first question was the same thing we heard about Rupa Goswami. What's the essence of all the literature? Who has time to study it all? And what is the primary duty for mankind? And the third one was, why did Krishna appear in the womb of Devaki? And then the next one, that was the third one, and then the fourth one, we want to hear about his incarnations, his pastimes. And then the fifth fifth one. And then we want to hear about those sages and what they tell us. Following in their footsteps. That's another one we're going to hear in our... You see, the books all parallel. They parallel. To follow in the footsteps of the previous devotees. And then the final one, well, Krishna has left. Where has religion taken its shelter? And it is the what? The Bhagavatam. So do you know those questions again? First one, what is the essence of all the literatures? Yes, but it's good for humanity. Right, ultimate good. What is the instruction? What must every man do? Especially at death. The third one, why did Krishna appear as the son of Devaki? Please tell us about his incarnations and pastimes. We also want to hear about those great souls, those sages, and their instructions. And where has religion gone? Now that Krishna has left. You follow all that now? Okay. These are the 6 questions. And the second chapter and the third answer them. In the 6th chapter, we get the background for how the Bhagavatam was written. And in the 7th chapter, we hear about Parikshit's salvation in the womb, how he's saved. Because at the end, we hear that he's been cursed and he has to die. So then we hear about the setting now for the recitation of the Bhagavatam. We get the whole historical background to everything, how the Bhagavatam was written, why it was written, why is Parikshit the one sitting here? How was he born? How was he protected by Krishna? How was he cursed to die? Who shows up to instruct him? You hear the background on Parikshit, on Shukadev, everything. And the whole background for the whole Bhagavatam. This first canto gives you the historical setting. The historical setting for this great philosophy. Okay, so we've read about his despondency, how he came. Let's hear a little bit about Narada, because the first 3 deal with the 6 questions and their answers. But now we're going to hear a little bit about Narada and Vyas. We have a very short time here. This is pages, mine book 5 through 8. Yours are probably different.
No, it's 5, Narada.
Narada, yeah, the son of a maidservant becomes the great sage.
5.
Right, and then we have now remember, anything that's written has the introduction and the elaboration and the conclusion. That goes for every unit. It goes for this section. It goes for every paragraph. That model is standard. There will be a general statement, there will be development, and there will be opinion and conclusion or injunction to follow. So now, I'll read and you just respond when I stop.
Yeah.
Narada Muni said, during the previous day of Brahma, I was born as an insignificant son of a maidservant. Once, during the 4 months of the rainy season, some exalted Vaishnavas came to the Brahmana school where my mother was living. And because she was engaged in attending to their needs, I also got the opportunity to render personal service unto them. Now that is how you get a taste for Krishna consciousness. Serving the great souls. That's what he did. Although impartial by nature, these great followers of Vedanta blessed me by their causeless mercy, because even though I was only a small boy, I was self-controlled. I did not speak more than required. Vajoveda. And I was not naughty, nor interested in childish play. Right. You see, they all have, these little boys have something in common. Prahlad, Narada, even Dhruva. For a little boy to go to the forest That's, yeah, they said, Narada said, look, go back home, forget what your mother, your stepmother said. It's not a big deal. Once with their permission, I took the remnants of their food. Now that's prashadam distribution, how important that is, right? And as a result, all my sins were completely eradicated. Prashadam is powerful. Because of this, and due to serving such great souls, the life of devotional service to the Lord became very attractive to me. In their association, I heard the narration of Lord Krishna's transcendently attractive pastimes, and by such regular and attentive listening, my taste for such topics increased at every step. When this transcendental taste became very strong, my attention became fully fixed upon hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As a result, the modes of passionate ignorance vanished from my heart, allowing me to realize that it was only due to ignorance that I had accepted the gross and subtle bodies as the self. I love those pure devotees greatly, and with very gentle behavior, I strictly followed their instructions. What a good little boy. 5-year-old. Yes. Are you going to be good like that?
Yeah.
When those Bhaktivedantas were about to depart, they instructed me in the confidential knowledge that was expounded by the Supreme Lord himself. Thus I learned the art of using everything in the service of the Lord for the purpose, ultimately attaining his personal association in his supreme abode. Right, there's the goal. After all, does not a thing that has caused a disease cure it if it is used therapeutically? This is Yukta Vairagya. We're going to hear about this. While fully applying the process of devotional service by Lord Krishna's mercy, I gradually became endowed first with transcendental knowledge of the Lord, and then received Bhaktivedanta, and ultimately his intimate loving service. So it came in that order, right? I first got his knowledge, and then opulences, and then his service. My dear Vyas, I request you to elaborately describe the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, for that will deliver the fallen human society from the miseries of material existence. Srila Vyasadeva inquired, my dear spiritual master, what did you do after the departure of those great sages? Now notice he's asking more questions, the 6 questions. Who, what, when, where, why, and how? What did you do, right? That's what Dhritarashtra said. What did they do? What did they do? He asked that at the beginning of the Gita. They're all ready with fights, weapons, on horses. What are they going to do? Have a chess game? That's why he asked it. He didn't want to compromise. It's obvious they've come to fight. Right? They weren't coming there to have a picnic. No, they were there to kill each other off, all right? And how did you pass your life after being initiated like that? And how did you obtain this present body after quitting your old one in due course of time? Time annihilates everything. How is it that you can remember these events that happened during the previous day of Brahma? How did you remember all this? A lot of questions here. Vyasadeva wants to know, how did you get this body? How do you remember all this? Narada replied, I was just 5 years old, and the only son of my mother, and thus she tried to bind me with a rope of affection. She wanted to properly look after my maintenance, and because she was not independent, she could not really do anything for me. That's true, nobody can really do anything for anybody. One day, while going out in the evening to milk a cow, my mother was bitten on the leg by a serpent, and as a result, she died. Wow, he was only 5 years old. I took this as the Lord's special mercy, for I knew that he always desires the welfare of his devotees. Even though I had no experience of foreign lands, I immediately left home and started for the north. After passing through numerous cities, towns, and villages, farms, forests, mountains, and valleys, I entered a densely dark and fearful jungle that was the playground of snakes, owls, and Since I had become very hungry, thirsty, and fatigued, both bodily and mentally, when I arrived at a lake, I drank the water and bathed to refresh myself. Thereafter, I sat down in the shade of a great banyan tree nearby and began meditating upon the Supreme Soul within, as I had learned from my spiritual masters. As soon as I concentrated my mind upon the lotus feet of the Lord, it became transformed to transcendental love. As tears fell from my eyes, Lord Krishna appeared on the lotus of my heart. And upon seeing my beloved Lord, I became so overwhelmed with happiness that all my bodily parts became independently, spiritually alive. Indeed, I became so absorbed in that ecstasy that I lost sight of both myself and the Lord. Now he is going from Shraddha to Prem.
Yeah.
This little boy, sitting in a forest full of snakes, owls, and jackals. The vision of the Lord provides one with deep satisfaction that is beyond description. Thus, when the Lord vanished from my sight, I jumped up with great agitation, for I felt the great shock that one experiences when losing something highly desired. I wanted to see the Lord again so badly, but despite my efforts to capture him with my meditation, I could not do so. Because of this, I felt intense disappointment and gave way to depression and grief. Upon seeing my sincere attempts in that lonely place, the Lord, while remaining invisible, spoke to me with a very grave voice, just to mitigate my sorrow. The Supreme Lord said, "Oh, Narada, I regret to inform you that you will not be able to see me again during this lifetime." Oh no, because one who is not completely free from all material contamination can hardly approach me. As a special favor, I have shown myself to you just to increase your desire to come to me. For the more you hanker after my association, the more quickly you will become free from all material desires. Oh, Krishna is so clever. As you see him, and then he takes it away. Like I show a banana to this little boy, and then I hide it. And then he has to pick down the buds.
He knows you're talking about it.
Yes.
He doesn't know.
All right. We'll finish this. Rest assured that by my mercy, neither your advancement in Krishna consciousness nor your remembrance will ever be impeded, even at the time of annihilation. That was the question. How do you remember this? Thus you will attain my association in the spiritual world after giving up this horrible material world. Hare Krishna. Very nice. That's a wonderful section to read. You should try to read those sections I have in the notes, Narada and Vyas, especially the chapters 6, 4, 5, and 6. Because 1, 2, and 3 deal with the 6 questions. 4, 5, and 6 give this beautiful description of Narada's childhood and his instructions on the Bhagavatam. It's really awesome. So I hope you have all appreciated hearing a little bit of the relishable pastimes of pure devotee, Narad, and you have learned some skills today in how to take a page, analyze it for deep understanding, because then when you go through answering the questions, I too got behind on my homework. I answered only the first one, but they should be easy for you. You have only, they're very general questions. And there are about 18 paragraphs with the first text. So you can number those after you answer the questions for text 1. I intend to do that. I answered one of the questions, who was Goswami, and I made a very long summary sentence. Srila Rupa Goswami, who was understood to be the superintendent, actually, the supervisor of the Krishna consciousness movement, the chief of the 6 Goswamis, and a direct disciple of Lord Chaitanya, is given Upadeshamrita to guide Krishna conscious followers to become perfect devotees or Goswamis. So in one sentence, you can pack all of the points. So try that. Because if you look at good summary sentences, if you're in your study guide or in Prabhupada's purport, you go to the end of each section, each text, Prabhupada will give you nice summary examples. Prabhupada's the perfect model. Okay? So now we will kindly request all of you to check your supplies. Make sure you have all of your materials. Quietly put them in your own bags. And on Friday we will go through chapters 2 and looking at 3 and 4 of the Gita. February is upon us practically. We have to do chapters 4, 5, and 6 in February. But 2 is the big one. We want to answer those questions. And we want to get a good look at 3. And we have to start memorizing slokas. I think the slokas will be easy when we use the help of her chart. Practice those. A sober person who can tolerate So those 3 we must practice and learn. We'll try to do that next time. And definitely in the Gita class, we want to go through the slokas for the first 6 chapters together.
Which chapter?
We want to keep revising all at once because if we don't, I think it's going to be too much. Maybe we can try learning just the ones for 2 and 3. And there are 4 and 4. In chapter 4 there are 4 slokas. There are 6, 7, 8 slokas from the Gita in the first 6 chapters. Okay, so do you all have your own materials? Okay, so we will pick our super handy helpers here. So we can get the boards from everybody. We don't have little Krishna Das here, he's super bad.